Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the entire team at NAEMD, I welcome you all to our masterclass webinar on wedding decor and guest experience and engagement. We have quite a few participants joining in, and we are still expecting more. So just to begin with, we'll have a quick poll first for our audience, and I would request all our audience to participate in the poll. We will be posting you a question, and can just take up the poll and answer the question. So the very first question that I would want to ask all our audiences: would you be interested to pursue a career, or are you pursuing a career in event management? Please drop in your answers. I do see a lot of answers already coming in. And there are still many participants joining in. So that's really good to see. So yes, let me just repeat the question once again. Would you be interested to pursue or are pursuing a career in event management? All right, the poll is still open. The ones who haven't taken it up yet, please take it up. The question is, would you be interested to pursue or are pursuing a course in event management? All right, we will yield there for last few seconds and we'll close it in the next few seconds. And anyone who hasn't taken up, please take it up. All right, we have closed the poll and we have received a tremendous response with almost 99% of participants responding that they want to pursue a career in event management or are into event management, starting a course in event management. So with that, since here, everyone who's present over here are interested in event management, all of these webinar series are being lined up for all you students to know more about event management. And to begin with, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to our very first webinar, which is on wedding decor. Wedding definitely is one of the most interesting topic, and it gives me immense pleasure to welcome our guest for today. With me, we have Ms. Louise Remedios, making every fairy tale come alive since 2004. Louise Remedios has held the reins at Reynolds Wedding, a division of Reynolds Events and Promotions set up by her father in 1990. She never saw herself in her father's business. She started her career as a banker and then moved into the hospitality industry and managed destination weddings at the Grand Hyatt. Today, she and her husband plan and execute dozens of weddings across India. Reynolds Wedding set itself apart through personal touch. Louise's years of expertise in the business offers her invaluable inputs in creating events that are elegant yet stunning and memorable. Recently, she has launched her new venture, Wedding in Goa.in, where she offers a platform for all stakeholders in the wedding business to showcase their work and network while providing its niche audience of clients looking to host a wedding in Goa with easy access to a one-stop solution for all their needs. It offers a comprehensive selection of the best wedding vendors and information on wedding planning through listing, newsletters, and blog posts. I'm sure we all are awaiting to hear her out today. She's going to be talking about wedding decors and how to create a memorable experience, not just for the couple, but also for the guest. So I would like to hand over the session to Louise, ma'am.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. And thank you so much for showing so much of interest in what we do. It's a daily part of our lives. And I know you are all aspiring event managers. And it's really, truly a pleasure to see such an amazing participation from all over India. I believe you are from everywhere possible, whether it's Mumbai, whether it's Delhi, whether it's any major city. I, of course, am sitting here in my home. I'm based in Goa. And as you know, Goa has been under curfew for a while. We haven't been having, too many events happening, obviously, because the situation is very serious in Goa. The pandemic has hit us very hard. And of course, the second wave has taken a huge toll on the events industry. In fact, last year, what we saw, we did not imagine it would be so bad this year. And we started to pick up, where we left off. We started to hire new staff. We picked up an enormous amount of weddings. And then eventually we saw it all fall apart. But these things happen. We are living in an industry where we prepare ourselves for something that is unseen, unforeseen. That is what makes an event manager, right? You're able to handle things as and when they're thrown at you. You're able to find very quick solutions to the problem. So right now, we're all being tried and tested. But I think it's an amazing learning experience for us. So we're all learning new things. We're learning how to improve ourselves. We're learning how to challenge ourselves. And we're grateful for that. We're grateful for this opportunity. So just to give you a little bit of a background about myself, my name's Louise, and I run a family business called Renault Weddings, which was, of course, started by my father. And he's run it very successfully. In fact, when I passed out of college, I did try a little bit, my hands at the family business, but of course, it was built to such a great extent that I felt that, I needed a little bit more experience in the line. So initially, I didn't really see myself here. I tried my hands working in the industry. I wanted to work, under, bosses and a very corporate lifestyle. So that was the I would say, wrong impression that, a lot of people have, even y'all as well. Y'all will face this in the industry where maybe your parents would tell you, oh, event management, it's something where you need to work late nights and it's a very difficult job and it's a part-time job and it's something that even for ladies, for women, such as myself, you will probably find yourselves very challenged in a line like this. So yes, that did hit me, that did strike me. And I said, you know what? Let me try working in a corporate industry. So I did start my career in banking. I didn't like it very much. I left that and then I joined the hospitality industry. I worked there for about maybe 4.5 years. After which I got a call from my father and he said, listen, you need to join the family business. And then I did. And when I did join the family business at that time, after having worked in an industry, in the corporate field, a very similar line, hospitality, I was working in the 5-star hotels. I was able to understand this a lot better. I was also able to bring in certain work culture that I felt was very much needed in my own family business. So if you see the previous generation, they had a very one-man show kind of style of working. They were not used to delegating things. They were not used to working with a team. They were not used to managing people. They used to try and do everything on their own. And that's what I felt. That's what I saw when I joined here. So I said, listen, I need a team. So that's the very first thing I went into. The very first thing was HR. And that's something you're going to find to be the most important piece of this whole puzzle, is to get amazing people on the job who are going to be able to run this for you. Because on my own, and I've realized this over years, I'm nothing. Okay, I'm just the face to the company. I may have this big fat company and this huge backing and all of this behind me, but without my people, without my staff, I am nothing. So I do need the best kind of staff, people who are experienced, people who are better than me. Okay, let's put it that way. I look to hire people who are much better than me, who can bring new ideas in, people who are young, people who are passionate, people who are dynamic. So that's what we look for. And then eventually we did grow the team. We had some amazing people work with us, join with us, and I created various departments as well. I created the accounts section. I created the production section. We had even people in stores. We had people who were graphics designers. We had a marketing team. We had something which was more proactive. We had something which was more reactive. And then, of course, I headed that. And then we learned through trial and error how to manage a team and how to get things going. And of course, now it's running beautifully. Apart from COVID, I think we did the most business the company has ever done in its history. But of course, COVID is a whole different challenge. And now we're all working from home with that challenge. So
Louise, ma'am, now that you have shared your story, I think we can just give a short video, show a short video to our audience, to have them also know the kind of work that your company has been doing. They'll also get a glimpse into it. So can we have the short video, please? audience, that was Louise ma'am's and her team's work. Wasn't that brilliant? It's just beautiful to see on pictures itself. I'm sure the experience of creating that feel and look and feel would be much more exciting, the entire process. But before we go ahead, I hand over to Louise ma'am and go ahead. We have this second question for our audience. Can we have the question? We are keeping the poll open for our audience. And the question for you all is, which of the following decor themes would you prefer? Okay, so the question is, which of the following decor themes would you prefer? The four options that you have is floral, shimmer and bling, glamorous affair, and rustic theme. So you have four options. You can select whichever you want, and we'll see which amongst the four is the most popular amongst the audience. So which of the following decor themes would you prefer? Floral, shimmer and bling, a glamorous affair, and rustic theme. So there are varied kind of responses that I'm receiving, and two of the options are, I mean, the kind of responses that I'm receiving is high compared to the other two. But keep polling, and we'll close the poll in the next few seconds. There are still a few participants who have to vote. So the ones who haven't taken in the poll yet, put in your answer. Which of the following decor themes would you prefer? Floral, shimmer and bling, glamorous affair, or rustic theme? And we'll close the poll in the next few seconds. The ones who hasn't taken it up yet, please take it up. Which one do you think you would want to have at your wedding, or would you like to see at a wedding? Floral, shimmer and bling, glamorous affair, or rustic theme? All right, so we'll close the poll on that note and see which is the highest, the response that we've got and the response that we have received. The maximum votes that we have received is for floral, so that definitely flowers are people, something that they like a lot, and followed by glamorous affair. So floral has been the most popular choice amongst the audience. So with that, we close the poll, and I'll hand over it again to you, ma'am.
Those are some very interesting answers, and I'm very excited to know a lot of you like florals and glamorous affairs. But those things are expensive, so we're going to guide you in terms of the decor and tell you how we go about something like this when a client comes to us with this sort of inquiry. Okay. So just to give you a little bit of a background about the topic that we're going to talk about today, which is wedding decor. There are a lot of pointers which are very important to bear in mind when somebody calls you. I'm sure you all saw that video, and it made me so excited. We haven't been doing weddings now in so long, but just to see that video, it just sent goosebumps up me, and I've been seeing this so often. But it's so exciting to be part of somebody's very important day in their lives, and to see decor and things like this come up, of course. But whenever we get a call, it's very important for us to figure out certain aspects of the decor in terms of the budgets, in terms of the florals. I wanted to talk to you about these things. Whenever we do talk about decor, you must understand that number one, the hotel, the venue that you're looking at is very important. A lot of our clients call us, and then they don't really have a venue in mind. They don't really have a hotel in mind, but they just want budgets. They want costs. When we get a query like that, we're always, in a position to tell them to look at various venue options, various hotel options. We even do suggest it to them. But it is very important for us to know the area in which we're going to work, right? So if it's outdoor versus indoor, there is a difference in terms of what you can do. When you're outdoor, you can put up big trusses, you can put up big sections, you can have an enormous stage, an enormous background, and so on. When you go indoor, you're limited to the space that you have in the ballroom. So the decor does depend on these kind of key components. Another one which is very, very important, and a lot of the times I get calls and the clients ask me, can you send us the work that you do and can you cost for it? Not everyone, of course, can afford the same kind of wedding, and we do realize that. So it is very important to understand budgets, which is what brings me to your poll question, because I found that very interesting. Everybody went for yes, florals and glamorous affair. But whenever you go for something like that, you must bear in mind the costs. When we do look at costs of florals, okay, there are two types of florals. You've got your fresh flowers and you've got your artificial flowers. And the general consensus is that the fresh flowers are more expensive than the artificial ones. So if I go in for all artificial, then my wedding decor is going to be a lot cheaper, but that's not true. That's not entirely true. The kind of florals that I use, okay, because I am heavy into florals. I love over the top designs and big flowers and installations and things like that, because of course it makes a massive impact. But whenever we use florals, our florals are imported. And you'll be surprised if I buy a hydrangea, maybe which is fresh, I'll spend 900 rupees. If I buy an artificial bunch of hydrangea, I probably spend about 2,000 rupees or 2,500 rupees for the quality that we use. And the reason why it's so expensive is because you're buying very good quality. You want the guests to look at it and say, oh, we don't know if it's fresh or it's fake. We really can't tell. So that's also something to bear in mind. Whenever you do buy artificial flowers and you use artificial flowers, they are more expensive than the fresh flowers. And it's very important also to make sure that when you use them, you are able to get them back. And that many a times doesn't happen. You would have noticed in a lot of these big weddings, celebrity weddings, industrialists' weddings, like the Ambani family, for example, they used a lot of florals, but a lot of those were fake. They looked stunning. They looked absolutely stunning. I myself use little bits and pieces here and there of very expensive florals. But whenever we put them up, and after the wedding is over, we of course have our labor who's been working day and night and back-to-back setups and breakdowns. And when they do take that down, sadly, they end up chucking not only the fresh flowers, but my expensive artificial flowers as well. So using it one time, use and throw, makes no sense. Okay, so then the cost of the wedding goes up, it increases. Even though you thought, oh, I'll use it maybe 10 times or 5 times or 20 times or whatever it is. So whenever you use florals, I think it's very important to note that the budgets do increase, right? So this is another thing that takes up the costs and the decor budgets. Very lucky for me that I have my own production house. Okay, now whenever you're working as, say, an event manager, you can work in two ways. Either you have your own in-house production, okay, or you will be maybe a management, a wedding planner. That's what they call the people who come in as middlemen today to plan the wedding. You'd be a wedding planner management, and then you'd probably hire a production house to do all of the decor for you. If you do that, you will find that the costs are a little higher than owning your own sets. In my case, we own everything. Okay, now this has taken many years for us to build. We own our own lights, our own sound, our own staging, our own decor, our own trussing, our own fabrics, our own furniture, our own LED walls, and now very recently our own German denting. So these are huge amounts of investment, and it does help us to sell things a lot cheaper as a package. We do give it to a client. Whereas if I had to go and say outsource all of these things, it would be more expensive for me. So that's one. Having your own in-house production is a massive asset. The other side, the flip side, because it is a double-edged sword, is that in a time like COVID, I then have no events and a massive team to support. And if I am not able to support them, then how do we handle the production? So there are two sides to this coin. Okay, you can build yourself up to a certain level, but now in this time, you will find that the people who have the biggest of production houses do not know how to handle a situation where we don't have an incoming cash flow in order to pay all of the salaries, which are the outgoings. So you have to be very flexible. You have to also adapt according to the situation. And you should be able to wait till a time that you can see a good flow of business coming in to be able to support those kind of overheads. So that's another thing. Like I said, having your own production house is a massive asset to the decor. I have gone out of Goa to do weddings. My base is in Goa, right? We've been here for now 29 years. I have gone out of Goa. We did go to Udaipur. We went to the Oberoi Uday Vilas, where we had a very prestigious client of ours book us for his daughter's wedding. And over there, when we went there, we wanted to, of course, book all of the different local vendors and artists, and we did reach out to certain decor houses and production houses for that. They did give us some very expensive costs, but we were not able to, of course, do it at the cost that we do in Goa. But yes, we did negotiate the prices. We do know what those costs are. We are in the same industry, so we were able to help them out from that aspect. I'll also tell you a little bit about the product that is being sold, right? So this product is like no other. It's very, very different. You're selling a story. You're selling a concept. Now, what happens is, if you were selling maybe the same value of a 10, 20 lakh, 30 lakh car, for example, a BMW or a Mercedes, you would have that product in front of you in order to show a client. He can sit in it, he can test it, he can drive it, he can, try it out, and he can tell you, okay, I like this and I don't like this. What do you do with a wedding? You know that your weddings range anywhere from maybe 10 lakhs to about 2 crores. You're selling the value of a very, very high-end luxury car, but you're not able to show them the product initially. So what you are selling is a story, you're selling a concept. So it is very important for you to be able to be somebody that they can trust, to be a storyteller. But at the same time, because it's such a vague concept, what we've done is we've actually created something in Goa. It's called the Wedding Mall. It's 22,000 square feet of display space. And I only utilize this in order to showcase our sets and our products. So we have, as you walk through, a beautiful reception area, area with a concept backdrop. We have amazing guest seating. We have the round tables, the linen, the centerpieces all put on display. We have the Sangeet backdrops, the LED walls. We can even literally walk through and show them the actual wedding mandap. So like you can see on the screen, I actually have these sets all displayed in my office. I've even got the florals put up in my office with special lighting, music, everything as they come in. So when they come in, it's a wow concept for them. They're able to see this. There's nothing like this that we have seen of its kind anywhere in India. And a lot of bigger event managers and wedding planners have told me this when they themselves have come in. So this does act like a USP, and something you can touch and feel does bring trust to the mind and of your client. And this is something that is a massive USP for us. So yes, when you talk about decor, rather than just showing people pictures and a presentation or a video, when they can actually walk through, touch and feel, their mind is at ease. And this is something that we have in Goa. It's taken a huge amount of investment for us to get here, but this is something that is also very important. The other thing to note when you're talking about decor is the client's taste. Okay, because I may have certain tastes, you may have certain tastes, your client may have certain tastes. You have to keep in mind what those tastes are. Now, my tastes essentially, if you look at my personal style, it is classy, it is minimalistic, it is floral. I love florals as well. But sometimes I get people who come from various parts and various backgrounds, and some people want very basic decor, some people want very elaborate decor, some people want very loud decor that doesn't meet my style, it doesn't meet my tastes. So then in that case, what I do is I first understand what they want. And I even tell my team that, because my team has certain set PPTs that we would probably send out to clients, but it does not make sense to be working so robotically, right? What I tell them to do is first talk to the client, talk to them, pick up the phone and call them and talk to them and understand where they come from. Number one, know which state they are from. Okay, so if someone says I'm from Delhi or I'm from Mumbai, or maybe I'm from the UK, understand where they come from, understand what is their background. Are they Marwari, Gujarati, Punjabi, Sindhi? There are certain tastes that come from different cultural backgrounds, and you'll notice this. People from abroad, they actually want more traditional looking decor because they don't see it there. People from India want very westernized decor because they don't see that here. So when you talk to them and you understand what they like, and that's another thing that I do, I always tell them, please send me pictures of what you like. Doesn't matter from where you choose it. You pick it from the internet, you pick it from my website, you pick it from my Instagram account. It doesn't matter. Send me pictures of what you like. And then when I have a look at their pictures, then I'm able to formulate a concept. I'm able to create a story. I'm able to sell them something that they will like. I'm creating a product that is absolutely tailor-made, because I know if I send a standard presentation across to anybody, they're going to reject it. They're going to say, no, this is not what we want. And then there's no point in taking things further because 10 other people would have probably figured it out before you would. So it's very, very important to actually qualify a wedding query. Okay. So there's a lot of time, there's a lot of thought, there's a lot of experience that goes into this. And that is the reason why only I do this. I have a lot of staff to help me once I figure out the mind of a client. But the initial part of actually sitting down with somebody, I would say it would take me not more than 15 minutes to figure somebody out. I would be able to tell you roughly their budget. I would be able to tell you what concepts they like. I would be able to tell you, which hotel they would see themselves and their wedding take place in. And that comes with experience. I may have met over 500 different couples in the course of me working in my own business. You will get that. I remember my very first meeting when I threw myself into the deep sea, and I remember sitting there in my boardroom with about 12 people all across the table, all asking me questions. And I tell you, very frankly, I was very scared. So my hands were shaking, my legs were shaking, because I had so much of, I would say, my family's name and everything to uphold. I had big shoes to fill in. And then I realized I can't have all that pressure when I'm talking to somebody. So the initial thing to try and bring down that fear, to try and bring down that nervousness, would be to tell myself in my mind that I've already failed. I don't need to be all of that. I don't need to think I'm all that great and all that grand and the biggest wedding planner and Goa and the, all of those things. So that's what I do when I sit with anyone. And I've sat with the biggest of people. I've sat with Priyanka Chopra. I've sat with Shushmita Sen. I've sat with the Adani and the Adani family, the Shroff and the Adani family for their wedding. So I've sat with some of the biggest people in the industry. And you're so scared when you meet these people, you're shivering, even though you've got all the experience and everything behind you. But it's very important. I'm telling you, it's a trick that I use. And I always tell myself in my mind, you've already failed. Once you do that, then you have nothing to fear. And then you sit down, you're very calm with somebody, you sit down and then you understand their story, what they like, what are their tastes. And then eventually, once you create that relationship and once you calm down and you understand what they want, you're able to actually create a very beautiful product for them. And then you're not afraid of failing. I think that's something that's a lesson I've learned over the years, is to never be afraid of failing, right? If you think you've already failed, there's nothing to be afraid of. And then that's when you actually win. So yeah, these are all, the tips and tricks that we've learned. And these are some of the things I bear in mind whenever I talk to somebody about Decor. And then eventually, once you know what people want and you understand their budgets and you have the experience to figure out a lovely story, I give it to the team and then the team puts it together in a presentation and sends it. And then it's just a matter of costs after that.
And now that you have pointed out about cultural difference and, different clients wanting different things, I think one of the most important aspects in a wedding is also the destination. So I would now like to throw the next poll question for our audience, which is related to destinations. Can we have the poll question? The question for you all is, which of the following is your favorite wedding destination? Udaipur, Goa, Maldives, or Dubai? One receiving responses, but I would want all 235 participants who are present here, in the webinar to put in their polls. Also, we are live on YouTube, so you can definitely put in your, your comments over there as well. So which of the following is your favorite wedding destination? Udaipur, Goa, Maldives, or Dubai? We are going to keep the poll open for the next 20 seconds or so. So the ones who have not taken it up, please take it up so that we can quickly move ahead with ma'am's session. Which of the following is your favorite wedding destination? Udaipur, Goa, Maldives, or Dubai? All right. So on that note, I think we will be closing now the poll. Can we have all the answers, please? All right. So which of the following is the favorite wedding destination? The highest poll that we have received from the audience is Udaipur, undoubtedly followed by Maldives. So there is one Indian destination that the audience love, and there's another international destination that they enjoy. So Udaipur and Maldives are the two destinations that have got the highest polls. Also, at this point, I would also like to mention that we are live on YouTube as well. And for my audience who are watching the session from YouTube, you can drop in your comments on YouTube. And also, we shall be taking up a short, quick Q&A round towards the end of the session. And any of the audience who have their questions, you can put it up in the Q&A box that you can see in the webinar, or the ones who are watching it from the YouTube, you can put it up on the comment section in the YouTube. I will be taking it up from there. So ma'am, handing over again to you.
So it's very interesting to see your answers. I think a lot of you have said Udaipur, 47%. Wow. Goa, only 18%. Why? Maldives, 30%. Oh my goodness. And Dubai, 5%. So just to know, have you visited these places to have this kind of a response? I myself have been to Udaipur. I've been to, of course, Goa. Maldives, no, but I was planning a wedding there. Okay, I did a lot of research about the Maldives. Dubai, not yet. I haven't gone to the Middle East yet, but yes, that is a possibility. So, coming to these three destinations, I'll tell you my answer. I would say Goa. And it's not because I'm based in Goa, okay? It has nothing to do with that. But I would say Goa for a reason. I've been to Udaipur. If you've been to Udaipur, you'll realize it's a very old city. Okay, moving around in Udaipur is near impossible. You can only move in an auto rickshaw. I kid you not. You cannot take a car into Udaipur. The roads are so narrow, there are no roads. They're doing up half those roads over there, that the movement of people to and fro is literally the fastest only by that lake. Okay, so if you've seen that main, the city lake where it's owned, of course, by the royals, that is your fastest means of transport there. So if you're going to do a wedding at the Taj Lake Palace, for example, you can't do much there. Have you been to the Taj Lake Palace? The venues are beautiful, but you can't put up any decor there. If you've been to the Oberoi Uday Vilas, the venues are also very beautiful. But again, you are, or rather, I would say the client feels that he's booked such a beautiful hotel that he doesn't need to do anything in terms of decor. And that's the kind of feedback that I get from my clients. So it's interesting to see your view and then my view, having been there, having tried to sell a product, sell a concept over there. People don't want to do very much in Udaipur because they believe that the hotel is so beautiful. And it's also very expensive. Okay, so the hotels there are going to be a lot more expensive than the hotels here, but the spaces are very small. I think just the Oberoi Uday Vilas would have probably the biggest spaces, and I think the Taj Aravali, if I'm not mistaken. Otherwise, there's no space. You can't do anything over there. Goa, the USP of bringing a wedding to Goa, if you're an event company, is that we've got massive lawn spaces, huge spaces, beautiful beaches. The kind of stuff that you can put up here, the kind of decor you can do is 3, 4, 5 times the value of what you'll be able to do in Udaipur, which makes it very interesting and also takes up the budget of the wedding. So when you bring a wedding to Goa, you'll actually find that you'll have bigger budgets. If you bring a wedding to Udaipur, you'll find that the budgets tend to go down. Unless maybe you use, there's, I think it's called Jagmandir, probably. So that's, I think, the biggest venue. It's in the middle of a lake again. So transporting things back and forth is a nightmare. Okay, there's a venue in Udaipur called Jagmandir. It's pretty much the only place you can work. But yeah, I think in that aspect, if you're an event manager, you will want to bring a wedding to Goa because you learn more from there. Maldives, oh my goodness. So Maldives, there was a wedding that I was trying for at the Maldives, and the problem there is several. One is the Maldives doesn't have anything. Okay, they literally don't have anything over there. Everything needs to be imported from either India or Sri Lanka or Thailand or wherever it is. The only thing they have is sand. Okay, you can't even take a murti there. So I believe it's a country that doesn't allow any kind of murtis there. You can't do a havan there. You can't do anything there. So it's a logistical nightmare. And it's all little islands, and you literally need to go one flight and then the next, and then you take another flight and go to the next. How are you going to transport all your flowers and decor and everything over there? So a wedding in the Maldives is tiny, tiny, tiny. That means they just pretty much put some very basic decor up there and that's it. So Maldives, for an event company, there's nothing much to do. The most that you do over there is, again, just managing your guests. Dubai, I haven't gone there yet. I haven't worked there yet, but maybe we could research that and look into that. And I'm sure Dubai is also a great option. But yeah, out of these different venues that you guys have chosen, for me, based on my experience, I would say come to Goa. Goa is amazing. You've got so many 5-star hotels here. There's absolutely no shortage of 5 stars. And there's so much you can do. I mean, you look at the spaces, they're absolutely massive. I'm just going to now jump into the last few things I wanted to tell you all about the decor. And then we'll go into our next topic about guest experience management. So when we talk about decor, I wanted to talk to you about the basic functions. Okay, every wedding has the same functions. If it's an Indian wedding, whether they are Punjabi or whether they are Marwari or whether they are Sindhi or whether they are Maharashtrian or whatever it may be, they have the same key components. You'll have 4 major functions. You'll have a mehendi, you'll have a sangeet, you'll have a feda, you'll have a reception. It's normally spread over 2 days. It might be 3 days where you'll have some pre-wedding events, maybe a beach party, maybe a pool party, maybe some kind of bachelor party or a sundowner, but pretty much this is what you're going to look at doing. All events are going to have the same elements, pretty much, okay? So if you write these things down, this is important. This has come from my experience, okay? It's not textbook at all. I'm just speaking purely from experience. You would talk about maybe an entrance. Okay, so that's the first thing. Remember, when you walk in, and I always visualize it. Whenever I talk to a client, I'm always visualizing things. So the first thing you'd have is basically an entrance. Your decor would start there. Then you'd have something which is your guest seating. Okay, so your guest seating would consist of the chairs, the tables, the linen, the florals, the way the cutlery, crockery, glassware is spread out. Now, a lot of event companies don't think about this. Okay, this is known as a cover layout. In the hospitality industry and hotelier terms, you must also think of your cover layout because that also is very, very important. I've seen a lot of hotels just put a little Bisleri bottle of water over there and the floral, and they think that's it, the table is set. But that does not look nice for a wedding. I always tell the hotels this: if you're going to do it well. Do a little cover layout where you'd have your maybe an appetizer plate, you'd have your knife, your spoon, your fork, you'd have probably a little goblet, either a water goblet, an AP goblet, or a champagne flute or something like that. You'd have your napkin fold, okay? And depending upon what your menu is, and it doesn't matter if it's a buffet, that's fine, it's perfectly fine. You can always have your dinner plate at the main buffet, and you can have your starter plate, which is placed on the table so that people come in, they have their starters, and then they go to the buffet and then they serve themselves there. But that whole setting looks very beautiful, and then you can personalize it. And when you personalize it, you can actually print little menus, you can have little, giveaways and very cute personalized things. So you'll see that on our Instagram profile as well, where we've actually put in, people's names and personalized that. When we want to do fixed seating and allocated seating, we do seating charts, especially for people coming from the UK. So that's something that we suggest to them before they even ask us. So they know that we're experienced enough to think about how they celebrate weddings back in the UK. Indians never want allocated seating. They never want to pick and choose where people will sit. They're always thinking about who will feel bad if they're not seated with somebody else. So in that case, we never suggest allocated seating for the Indian families. But what we do is we do suggest to have the table look a little pretty, not just with that little conference bottle of water on the table. Okay, so that's with your main table seating. Then people want a picture corner. Everybody wants to take photos. So you'll have one little aspect over there that you must think of, even if the client doesn't tell you about it, which is an area for selfies. Everybody's into selfies. People buy special cameras in order to, make their selfie pictures look great. And that's when we think of things like hashtags or anything else. It can be, even these neon signs now become in vogue. A lot of people are using personalized neon signs as part of their picture corners. So those picture corners need to be personalized. And that's what makes the wedding as well very personalized according to the couple. Apart from the picture corner, you'll have a dance floor area. Now, a dance floor area is basically required if you've got any kind of performers, musicians of the family or the guests want to dance. You'll have a stage for musicians. If you've got a band playing, you do need to put in a stage. And sometimes clients forget about that. So wedding clients are very different from corporate clients. Corporate clients know what they want, they're experienced. Wedding clients have no idea. They're all relying on you. The only reason they book you is because they trust you to take care of everything for them. So when they tell you they have a band, you need to think, we need a stage. We do need a backdrop. If there's a band, what is the tech rider? We need to ask for the tech rider. So these are things, experience does count, and it is very, very important. Apart from that, you'll have a main backdrop. You'll have the food area. That's another place people never think of. How is the hotel going to display their food? If they're going to do a buffet, that's fine, but how are they going to display it? So if you do need to have counters, you need to make sure that they are in theme with whatever decor you're putting up. If it's a Mehndi function, it needs to have that theme. If it's a Sangeet function, it does need to be in theme. Buffet lighting, very important. Hotels never think of that. So when you are thinking of the rest of your decor, you also need to focus on your buffet lighting. That's also something very important. And you need to budget it in your decor, of course. So smaller budget weddings probably won't get it, but bigger budget weddings, they do. Then you've got the drinks area, the bar. The bar always is a grand theme. It's always part of your decor. It's also something that we highlight. Now, whenever you put bar, the word bar, into a presentation, you'll always have the feedback, मेरे शादी में alcohol नहीं है. Okay, but even if they have water, even if somebody is serving a glass of water, you need to have a counter which is thematic. So that's what I tell them, sir, ma'am, it's not a bar, it is a beverage counter. And that beverage counter, whatever beverages you may serve, needs to be decorated. So that's another very important aspect, decorating the beverage counter. We don't call it the bar. Okay, then you've got your gifts and takeaways, right? So depending upon different functions, you may have certain stalls or a table or something where you want to decorate in order for the guests to put up their gifts in order to give away to the other guests and the relatives. So that's also something you must suggest into your presentation when you talk to them. Couples seating area, very important. So this is something that a lot of the times people leave out. I've even had my own staff leave that out of a presentation that they're working on. And then suddenly when I'm checking everything, when we're doing an internal run through, an internal pre-con, we call it a pre-con before we get into the wedding, we find these kind of elements missing, right? So if I find that the couple seating has not been taken care of, first thing I tell them, call up the client, check, do they want a couple seating? And most of the time they do want a couple seating area. So what we do is either we put a sofa out there or we figure out maybe some hangings or something to highlight where the main bride and groom will be seating. That's very important. The games area, the lounge area. So this depends on the kind of event you're doing, of course, but yes, you do need to think of what are the little things you can do to engage guests. They're not just attending a function, they also want to be part of it. So if you're doing a mehendi function and you want to have some games or some stalls, that's something that people love. Okay, so you can make it very interactive and very fun. And even you can have some prizes in there that people can take away if they've played, a little game. So that's another very important part of your decor. This is besides areas like your stage skirting, your DJ console, your band, stage skirting. Very important, these things do get missed, and that is why I am part of every single internal pre-con that happens, because I look into these things. So when we have people who have just started working with us, a lot of my team members are students from the NAEMD, and I must say they're absolutely fantastic. The best of my staff are from NAEMD, and when I see them work on these things, and of course they're new, they probably don't have the experience to know of these things, I point it out. So I will tell them, what does your stage skirting look like? What does your DJ console look like? Is it thematic? Does it have a print on it that matches the rest of the theme? And these are important little tips and things to keep in mind when you're thinking about the overall decor. And another important point is to bear in mind the hotel's do's and don'ts. Okay, so when you're working with the hotel industry and you're working in a 5-star hotel, they're not a 5-star for nothing. Okay, a lot of the times they're going to charge you a sort of deposit fee because they think you're going to damage anything in the property, you're going to break a chandelier, you're going to mess up a wall. Security is going to come running after you and give you a big fat bill. So there are a lot of do's and don'ts. They're going to give you an EMC's do's and don'ts, which you must need to go through. And of course, that is going to play a huge role in terms of the kind of decor that you're allowed to do, whether you're allowed to have a pool party or not, whether you are allowed to have a rain dance or not, a foam party or not. So these are all very important aspects to bear in mind. Another thing very important, a lot of the hotels have these kind of pointers that we bear in mind. From experience, I know these things. If you're on the lawn, you may want to face your speakers in a certain direction away from the room. So you face it towards the sea because the hotel is going to complain. And if they haven't had a chance to look at your layouts, which you've emailed them, which happens most of the time because they're busy and they look at it maybe on the day of the event, you have no time to turn around your stage or your sound or anything. You're stuck. So you must think of these things beforehand, that you send your layouts to the hotel, you take their permission, and then you set up. Then your speakers and everything are facing in the right direction, which is allowed by the hotel. Another thing I'll throw in very quickly is to utilize the area's general natural beauty, okay? Because Goa has a lot of beauty and a lot of other venues do as well. So if we're outdoor, we've got a lot of trees. We know we got to play with the trees. Okay, so that is something that I include into my decor, even if it's not part of the theme. I didn't think of it before. I do a walkthrough, I visualize it in my head, and then I use the natural beauty of the place. So if you've got little corners and things that you can bring out, you do that. And that's what makes it your own theme and something very different. Every single wedding is different, even though you're doing the same theme maybe from another wedding. When you do it in a hotel and you kind of utilize these very personal spaces, it becomes something completely different. So yeah, these are basically my tips on decor. And then very quickly, I'll talk to you about something called guest experience management. So guests, especially Indian guests, are people who are very demanding. The ones who pay more are even more demanding. And it's very important to note when you do handle a wedding from a management aspect. So we finished with the decor and everything. We're talking about the management of the wedding. Then we start very first and foremost from the hotel, right? So we talk about what is the hotel that you're going to book. We help them with sourcing of that hotel as an agent, a middleman. We then go into helping them do the RSVPs and everything, the calling of each and every one of those guests, getting their RSVPs for the function, and then getting their photo IDs. Now maybe a COVID test would be important in today's time. And that helps people to check in very fast. And then airport to airport management, once the guests reach the Goa airport, we would make sure that the guests are assisted into their coaches. Coaches bring them to the hotel. They're at the lobby. They're doing their check-in. We have a May I Help You desk. The May I Help You desk helps with the check-in process. And that's when guests are ushered either to their rooms, if the rooms are available. Most of the time when you have back-to-back events, the rooms are not available. No reason to panic. You're an event manager. You need to be prepared for this. So then what you do is you say, sir, your room is not yet ready. Please let me escort you to your lunch venue where you can enjoy a wonderful meal. And I will be with you shortly with your room key. So that is something that we learn. We always smile. We're always making sure that people are comfortable. And and we then take them to their room once that's ready. And then, of course, ushering guests through the different functions of the venues, where each function is taking place in. If you need to send SMSs and everything to the guest rooms, that's what the May I Help You desk is for. And then eventually back to the airport and back to their homes. That's, in a nutshell, what we do with guest management.
All right, ma'am, now that you've shared a lot about, how to do decor and definitely have also touched upon guest management, let's have our last polling question before we move on to the Q&A section of the webinar. So we'll now have our last polling question. And again, I would request the audience to kindly participate in the same. So can we have the question, please? So the question for the audience is, which of the following would you use to create a guest engagement? Photo booths, dessert tables, karaoke, or fire performance? So we'll keep the poll open for the next 30 seconds and try to put in your answers as soon as possible. Which of the following would you use to create guest engagement? Photo booths, dessert table, karaoke, or fire performance? So I again see a lot of polls coming in for one particular answer, and I'm sure you all would be excited to know what it would be, but there are still a lot of audience who needs to put in their answers. Which of the following would you use to create a guest engagement? Photo booths, dessert table, karaoke, or fire performance? We keep it open for the next 5 seconds and then take the answer for the poll. All right, can we close the poll and let's see what the audience has to say about this? So which of the following would you use to create a guest engagement? Photo booth definitely was the one which received a lot of responses. More than 50% of the audience have selected photo booths, and then karaoke was the one which followed the next. So yes, so on that note, I think we can now begin with our next session of the webinar, which is the Q&A round. And I'll request all our audience that you can use the Q&A box to put in your questions. Depending upon the time that we have left, obviously, I'll try to take up as many questions as possible. Also, for the ones who are watching the session live on YouTube, you can leave in your questions in the comment box, and I shall be taking it from there as well. So to begin with, ma'am, I have already received a lot of questions from the audience. So to begin with, let's begin with Rituraj's question, who is asking you what skills and personality traits an event manager must have.
I think very important is to have a good attitude. Okay, that's the first thing I look for when I hire somebody. And that's a very important thing for me to have as an experienced event manager. As experienced as I am, we reach certain points, in our lives where things frustrate us. Okay, it could be the client who's frustrating you, they're being too demanding. It could be the situation frustrating you. It could be the hotel frustrating you. But if you have a positive attitude, then you can always get through it. So this is the most important thing. It's not the training. It's nothing else but that attitude that will get you through all of these things. The other thing is to be a quick solution finder, right? So you have a problem, you don't just kind of stop there, you figure out a solution. We're all working under stress, especially in weddings. You'll have 10 different things that you have to think of. You'll have a lot of pressure coming from different sides. The clients are loud. The clients are going to be screaming at you. And at the same time, you got to be thinking of a solution, right? So you got to have your presence of mind. You got to be able to not crack under pressure. Okay, that's very, very important. And then quickly think of what else can I do to try and solve this problem, try and find a fast problem. No wedding goes off without a hitch. There are hitches. There are glitches. There are things that go wrong. There is sometimes things that you can't control. Okay. But if you have that keen presence of mind, you will find a solution. Those are the most important traits.
Okay. Second question is from anonymous attendee. I think the person doesn't have, he hasn't typed his name here. But the question is it really that affordable to have your own production house?
So it is not very affordable to have a production house if you don't have enough of business coming in. And when you start off new, you cannot have that much of business coming in. You got to make a name for yourself. The way to make a name for yourself is that you start by being an intermediary and you hire production from other people. You do it cheap and you're able to do it well. It's a very difficult balance to maintain. I struggle with it even till today. Do it cheap, do it well. But yeah, if you're able to do that, you will build your name. When you build your name, you build your business. When you build your business, you know that there's business coming in. Now you can spend money, and then you spend money on the staff, and then you hire the staff, and then you keep that flow happening. So that is when you will be able to have a production house.
Right. Amisha is asking, what factors do you consider when selecting a venue?
A venue, very important, is to know the client's budget. Okay, so the client has a very small budget. Obviously, I'm not going to sell them a super luxury hotel. If the client says my guest count is 400 people, I'm not going to sell them a hotel that has a ballroom that can only cater to 200 people. So it is all based on the guest count. It is based on the budget. It is based on what they want to do. If they want to do a beach wedding, I'm not going to sell them a hotel that doesn't have a beach. So these are very important factors to bear in mind. Also, something that we know based on our experience is the working with these hotels. So the hotels that are very, I would say, easy to work in, they don't have too many issues, whether it's with the clients or whether it's with the event companies. That also plays a major role in terms of where we do suggest the client to go, because our personal experience counts. Event managers, I would say, play a massive role in determining where these wedding clients end up going.
Right. Riddhi is asking that what happens if you or the person in charge for decorating the wedding venue, is not available on the wedding day. So how do you, the last minute crisis which comes in, how do you manage that?
So you mean if there was a person allocated to be there, that person suddenly can't be there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine. So what happens is I always plan for this anyway. In fact, when we were given the Adani wedding, it was such a big wedding. My father was the main point of contact because I was very new to this industry at that time. They insisted that I be there in that meeting. They flew me to Mumbai. I was very new to this. Why did the Adani family insist that I come? It's because they wanted a plan B. They wanted a backup. They said, what if something, God forbid, happens to the main head of the corporate, of the company? What then happens to our wedding? Because we spend so much of money and planning and everything in this. We need to know that you have a backup. You have a person that can take over in case anything does happen. So that is also the same thing that we go by when we do take up a project. We never have one person who knows all this information. We make sure that yes, there is a main coordinator, but this information is spread out In two, it's different departments. You've got a production department that is there for decor, for lighting, for sound, for whatever it may be, florals. Each one has their instructions which have already been given. We have element lists which take months to make and detail. We also have internal pre-cons, multiple pre-cons. We also have venue walkthroughs. So everybody knows what they have to do. So even if the production main head is not there, that's fine. Next person moves in and then coordinates, and everybody knows what they're supposed to do. It's not a one-man show.
And I think that's just not applicable to a wedding event. That would be applicable to any kind of events. Whether you're doing a live event, whether you're doing a wedding or a corporate, you need to have your backups. You need to have people available.
100%. If you have one person who knows all this information, if something happens to that one person, what are you going to do?
Exactly. All right. Moving on. Richa is asking, do you need any kind of permissions to arrange a wedding on a beach?
Yeah, for sure. One is you need beach permissions. Okay, you can't do a wedding on the beach without beach permissions. And with our experience, we know that beach permissions in Goa take time. So I give my clients a minimum of 30 days to tell me whether they want a wedding on the beach or not. I need to apply for my beach permissions, which is the CRZ permission. You have the tourism permission. You may have a panchayat permission that needs to be taken out. You may have sound NOCs that need to be taken out. So there are a whole lot of permissions that you need to know about. This takes experience. And then you apply for those permissions, and then therefore you can now do a function on the beach. But still, if you do the function on the beach, you need to also make sure that you talk to the client about the fact that their guests will have to walk in the sand. Are they okay to walk in the sand? A lot of Indian guests wear high heels, especially the ladies. How are they going to walk in the sand? So then the guests will say, oh, no, I don't want them to walk in the sand. What can you do? So in that case, we build a platform. Okay, so we have this massive wooden platform that takes a good 48 hours if it's a big one, 3,000, 4,000 square feet. We take sizes, we take measurements, we take layouts, we make sure we have enough time to build this platform on the beach. We check with the hotel, what is happening the day before? Do you have another wedding the day before? If you do have another wedding before, we can't do a big platform. So all these things have to be checked. It can't be that you've planned this big platform, you've gone to them maybe 1 month before, and you've said, here's my layout, and then the hotel says, no, sorry, you can't because we have another wedding. They are breaking down. So what do you do? So these things need to be well planned. You have to think of all these things when you're doing a beach wedding.
Right. Okay. We have a question from Sonal, who's asking what, according to you, is more important, having good contacts in the industry or impressing your clients? What would help to make your name in the industry?
I think both are important. You can't do one without the other for sure. So if you have good contacts, you are then going to make your life a lot easier. Okay. You need to be able to work with people. It's not that I come in, I then go up to the hotel and I suddenly start working there. You have to know how to get around people if you want the things done, because otherwise you'll find a lot of roadblocks that you will face if you have not made those contacts. You want certain things last minute, something doesn't arrive, you need to go and call someone, you need to get this done, you need the hotel guy to be able to give you the venue on time or a little bit before, or there's some kind of hiccup. You need to have those contacts in place. Impressing the client, you'll not get the business if he's not impressed. Every single client of mine comes to me because they're impressed. They don't come to me because I'm the biggest name they've ever heard of. They don't come to me because my presentation is necessarily the best presentation they've seen. They don't come to me because my company has been here for 29 years. Why do they come to me? Because the brand is me. There is something in me that they trust. There is something in me that they believe in. As an individual, they choose you. They don't choose the brand. They don't choose anything else. So it is very important that you impress a client.
Okay. How would you handle an event which is going over budget? I think Amisha has put in that question. Do you ever face that kind of issues, and how do you handle it?
Yeah, I do. So what happens is I'm very clear when I do take on a project that this is my cost. I make it very transparent to the client, because I think when you take a piece of business on, you have to build that relationship of trust. Okay, they trust you, you trust them. When the trust is there, things will go smoothly. Okay, so in order to build that trust, financially, you need to be very transparent with them. You need to tell them this is the cost. I'm not going to take it up by 1 rupee more, and neither are you, unless you approve of something else that I say, okay, is possible, and then we add to this cost. Many of the times, either the clients are not honest with their budgets initially, or maybe it's a genuine feel that they want to add maybe certain artists, or certain vendors, or certain other extra things in that they didn't budget for, that they feel now they have the budgets for, whatever it may be. In that case, you do need to be very transparent with them, and you tell them, see, I'm not the one who's taking up the budget. I was okay at whatever I took the business piece at. And now that you've added these extra costs, here's the bill, here's the tax, here is everything. Are you okay with it? I get an approval from them, and then I go ahead. I'm not the one that keeps adding to things. Now, if I want to maybe do something on my own, okay, so that's a point of ethics and morals. Okay, this is how I work. This is not necessarily how other people work. This is how I work. If I want to add some extra things, I will add it from my side. If I want to give a client Tiffany chairs that was not there in the wedding, that maybe adds value, and I have those chairs, they're lying there, it doesn't cost me much, I will give it to them. Value adds are very important. People enjoy that. They've not asked for it. You never promised it to them, but you suddenly give it to them from your side. They're very happy with it, because in this market, goodwill is also very important. It is important to build that kind of goodwill with your clients. You will get future business from that.
Okay, we have a lot of questions actually which are coming in from the audience, but sadly we are running short of time, because of which we'll have to close the session for today. But ma'am, it was wonderful to have you. I think you actually have covered up so many aspects about, wedding decor and how to go about with it. I'm sure that must have added a lot to the expertise of our students. It was an immense pleasure to have you amongst us. Just a very quick few announcement before we close these sessions. We are having more such webinars coming up in this month, and so our next webinar is lined up on the 22nd of May, which is going to be on managing virtual experience, virtual events, the new way of doing events. So we have our expertise coming in, and they shall be sharing with you about, how to organize a virtual events. This is lined up for the 23rd or 22nd of May, and details will be available on all our social media handles. I would request all our students to follow these social media handles so that they get updates about all of these things. Also, currently, we are open with admissions for the new batch. And so any of the students who are interested can connect with our team, and we shall be more than happy to help you out. So on that note, Louise ma'am, thank you so much for joining us today for your session and imparting your expertise to our students and all our attendees. It was great to have you on this platform. Thank you for accepting our invitation. So on behalf of the entire team at NAEMD, I would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to, firstly, Louise ma'am for giving us her time and joining us, the entire team at NAEMD for making this event happen. Not last but not the least, our attendees. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for your questions. I hope and I wish I had the time to take up all of those questions. But nevertheless, I'm sure you can follow ma'am on her Instagram page as well. And we are more than happy to have you, and we are looking forward to have you in our next webinar as well. Thank you, Louise ma'am, once again, and thank you everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Have a lovely evening.
We do have a student waiting with us actually to give a vote of thanks, Louise ma'am. Mansi, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Mansi, please take it up, dear.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving me this opportunity to present a vote of thanks. I would like to express our sincere gratitude on behalf of all the students to Ms. Louise Remedios for joining us and giving us a valuable time and providing us with such an informative session. This workshop was very helpful and interesting, and I'm sure all of us have benefited with this. Thank you so much, ma'am, and would love to have more such, sessions with you. I would also like to thank all the management team and for such an insightful session, and a big thank you to all the attendees for their kind presence. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Stay home, stay safe.
Thank you so much, Mansi. It was wonderful to have you also on the webinar. And on that note, thank you, everyone. We shall see you in our next webinar.